What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing some stuff to my Sig P320 Scorpion. This has been one of my favorite Sig firearms that I own. I've carried it quite a bit and I love the look of it. These guns are in the Sig Custom Works line and they're pretty sweet. They have a metal frame and they come with the X Series trigger in them. With this gun, I've put the Romeo 1 Pro red dot on it. I did some Sig X-ray night sights. I put a Streamlight TLR1 HL on it. And then I've also done a magwell and some base pads on the magazines. But Apex just sent me out a new trigger kit for it. This is the forward set trigger kit. I opted to go with a flat face trigger on it. And it comes with a new trigger bar and an over travel stop. So we're gonna be taking a look at this today. So let's jump into it. So I bought this gun a while back when it first came out. This is part of the Sig Custom Works line. They have a limited run of custom guns that they build and ship out. And I was lucky enough to grab one of these. I've had this for probably 2 years or so. I've done a few things to it. Like I mentioned, I did a light, red dot, new sights, magwell, and base pads. And today we're gonna throw in that Apex forward set trigger kit. Now Apex is cool enough to send that out to me. Apex has been awesome, I love their products. And we're gonna go over that trigger kit and do some comparisons between the trigger in this and the trigger in my X5 Legion. If you haven't seen the video I did on my X5 Legion, I built this thing, put it together. I didn't buy this gun as a whole, and this gun is pretty sweet. I really love this gun. I bought this FCU separately. That's the serialized portion of this gun, and I built this gun, sourced the parts, put it all together. But this trigger in this, I have a trigger kit in it. The trigger kit I put in this is from the Glock store. This is what it looks like right here. I'll throw a picture up. The trigger kit I put in this changed it quite a bit. So here's the take up. There's not much take up. It has the classic Sig kind of mushy pull through break. Nice short reset. We'll look at it a little closer when we jump over to the bench. I haven't tried out all the aftermarket stuff out there, but for my research, there's not a whole lot of trigger kits for the P320s. So I'm excited to try this one out. Once we jump to the bench, we'll take a close-up look at both of them, and we'll do a trigger pull test on that factory trigger, see how it's pulling compared to this one, and then also we'll retest it after we install the new Apex parts. I know you guys think Glock store, they're Glock centric, and that's what they focus on, and yes, that's true. They also make parts for the Sig P320. And one of the pro shooters that they sponsor helped them design the trigger kit that I put in this. All right guys, so here's what we're working with. This is my Sig P320 Scorpion, and we're gonna do a trigger pull test real quick. This thing is empty. And I'm just gonna be using my Lyman digital trigger pull gauge, and we'll do a trigger pull test on this thing and see what it's pulling at right now. We'll do a 3-pull average. .19. .07. That's kind of surprising. 2 pounds 11. So that's averaging 3 pounds 4.8 ounces. That's a little surprising to me, but this does have the X Series trigger group in it, which is a little bit better than the factory P320 trigger. Now let's do a trigger pull test on my X5 Legion. .8 ounces. 2.5. And 2.7. So that one's averaging 2 pounds 7.2 ounces. That's a little surprising. I'm kind of wondering if I need to get this thing calibrated. Those are a little lower than I would expect out of these triggers. So keep that in mind. 2.7 ounces on this one. This Legion is the one that I put that Glock store trigger in. We're gonna set that off to the side and do some work on the Scorpion. This is what that trigger kit looks like from Apex. It's a forward set trigger kit with a flat face trigger. They also have a curved trigger. What comes in the kit is a new trigger shoe, comes with a new trigger bar, and then it comes with an over travel stop and a spring. So here's what that trigger shoe looks like. It is all flat face. It's not really skeletonized like the factory one. It comes with a different profile. This is the Apex trigger bar. This is a patented product. It sets that trigger a little bit further forward. It's a little different profile than the factory one. I'll show you that side by side once I pull the other one out. And then it comes with an overstop travel and a little spring. The trigger kit I put in my X5 Legion also came with an over travel stop. I'm just going to throw you on time lapse because YouTube is against step-by-step instructions on how to do stuff like this, and I don't want to break the rules, so I'm going to throw it on time lapse, get this thing installed, and then we'll do another trigger pull test afterwards and compare it to the Glock Store trigger that's in my X5 Legion. Like with all my videos, I'll have a link in the description that takes you to my website where you guys can go over there and get more information on this stuff that I talk about in the videos. I don't sell anything over there, it's information only, so if you guys want any more information on anything I talk about, whether it's the weapon light I put on this, red dots, this trigger kit, the trigger pull gauge, any of this stuff, I'll have links over there for that and more information over there for you. So here's what these look like side by side. This is the factory trigger shoe and this is the Apex trigger shoe. You can see that's more of a slimmer profile, flat faced. There's the back side of what that looks like. Small differences in the radius right up there where that pin is. Nothing big, but it does eliminate a lot of that bulk that's in the trigger. Then here's the factory trigger bar compared to the Apex trigger bar. This pinhole right here is a little bit further forward set, and the overall shape of that's just a little bit different. As well as on the back side, just a little bit different. So I'm going to set these factory parts aside, get this thing thrown back together. So that's that. I got that trigger bar installed, the new trigger shoe, and that over travel stop is right there. Now when you're doing this, you want to make sure all those pins stay put and you get everything back together how you took it apart. Very similar to cleaning. If you're going to clean this gun and pull this out to clean the frame and stuff like that, you want to make sure none of these pins fall out, and if they do, you get them back where they're supposed to go. I'm going to throw this back in the gun, and you may have to push down that trigger shoe just to get this to drop in where it's supposed to go. And then once we get this all back together, we're going to perform a functions check, make sure everything is good to go, and make sure it's a safe situation next time you go to use this thing. So here's the new take-up. It shortened that drastically. That is night and day difference. There's the brake. Reset. Brake. That feels 100% better. My biggest complaint with these Sig triggers is that they are spongy feeling. That's one thing I hate about Sig. Compare it to this thing. That wall is not firm. You can see the slop in there. It's not firm at all, and it's like spongy. I think that's the best word I can come up with to describe it. This one is a nice firm wall, definitely reduces that take-up. You can see the take-up on that compared to that, shortens that quite a bit. That turns it into a crisper break than what comes on the factory gun or on the X5 factory trigger. This kit does change some springs and things like that, which lightens it up, but it does not get rid of the sponginess. Now let's do some trigger pull tests. If you remember what our trigger pulled on this beforehand and what our factory trigger pull was, let's see what the difference is. Three pounds, 10 ounces. 2 pounds, 15.5. 3 pounds, 14 ounces. So it's averaging 3.8 pounds, so about 3.5 pounds on that trigger. I think the benefits of the take up, which is shortened drastically, crisper break, and that reset make this kit well worth the money on a Sig trigger. Like, I almost want to buy another one of those to put in my Legion. That's how nice it is. All right, guys, that was not a bad project at all. Getting that flat face trigger put in there, that new forward set trigger bar, and that over travel stop. Honestly, after sitting here playing with this for the last 5 minutes, I don't know that I've ever installed a trigger, whether it's on a Sig, a Glock, whatever the handgun you want to bring up, that I've installed a trigger on that made as big of a difference as this one. This is night and day difference from the factory trigger to this trigger. Sig triggers are notoriously spongy and aren't the best feeling triggers. This adds a nice wall. You can actually hear it break and hear it reset. That is unreal in my opinion. These factory triggers don't do that. It's like I don't even know how to describe the reset. It is not positive, it is not tactile, it is spongy and feels like shit, to be honest. This thing totally changes that dynamic. This thing totally changes this gun. I can't wait to get this thing out to the range, and I'm really excited about this trigger. I'm glad I got one in so that I could put one in this thing. I'm not gonna say it's a glass break. It's not that good, but it does improve this trigger 1,000 times over. I would buy one of these for any Sig I buy. That trigger shoe feels really good on the finger. I opted for the flat-faced one. They also have a curved trigger shoe, which, personal preference, you can choose whichever one you want. Like I mentioned, in the description I'll have a link that takes you to my website if you guys want any more information on this stuff that I used. Whatever it is that I mentioned in this video, I'll have links over there, and you guys can go over there and check that stuff out. Again, I don't sell anything over there, so YouTube or viewer that's watching this video, I'm not trying to sell gun parts. I don't sell anything over there. But if you guys are interested, go over there, check that stuff out. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe, and I'll check you guys on the next one.